My 41M wife, 35F, refuses to put our son, 6, in public school. How do I move forward? I am not the OOP. OOP is you, Susaman. My 41M wife, 35F, refuses to put our son, 6, in public school. How do I move forward? Originally posted to our relationship advice. Trigger warning. OCD. Controlling behavior. Less than. Original post October 18, 2023. I don't know what to do with this issue because it's a combination of parenting and relationship. My son is 6 years old but is very smart and we are currently homeschooled, but currently they haven't had a session in weeks. When they do, it's just a few hours. If that. 3 times a week. If that. I'm very frustrated because even though I understand the advantages of homeschooling, more focus on subjects that matter without the fluff, not subjecting him to the dangers of public school, I still rather have him endure that than him on his phone constantly throughout the day and not obtaining any social skills or any kind routine. The wife and I have argued, thought about this many of times, and I told her it's the last year of this homeschooling. She has clinical OCD and babies him a lot. It's her only child, so I understand to an extent. I have 3 others from a previous marriage and 2 live with us. So I don't know if that has something to do with it or not. I'm not sure if counseling, compromise or ultimatums are in order here, as she absolutely refuses to put him in school and I have threatened divorce because I find it's very harmful for him. Any advice would help. TLDR. Wife doesn't want to put son in public school but lacks the discipline to consistently homeschool him. Edit. I want to thank everyone who has given me great advice. I really appreciate it. This is a difficult situation to say the least to those who had lingering questions. I work from home, so that's how I know. Yes, she gets therapy and medication for her OCD. Yes, I know I'm at fault for not just enrolling him in school behind her back. But this is something I have argued for the past 2 years. I take his education seriously, but you don't just do what you feel is right without consulting your partner. So I decided to write down my feelings and will give her a choice. I love her and my son. I feel we can make a decision that is beneficial to all, but if she wants to be stubborn, I'm willing to walk away, which is a very hard decision with lots of ramifications. I will update afterwards. Thank y'all again. Relevant comments. Top comments. RIP dirtbag. She's gonna wreck him if she's allowed to homeschool him the whole time. This is NT Shakespeare. If your wife's mental illness, OCD, is driving this issue, it is in your child's best interest to attend school, not subjecting him to the dangers of public school. This sounds like an OCD worry. Has her fears impacted the whole family? She desperately needs professional therapy, if she isn't already. Her catastrophic thinking is very harmful to your son's own psyche. Her therapist must be aware how her illness is affecting your young son. Your wife is neglecting his education. Her mental health issues is deeply affecting her insight in her parenting. NSJ 95. Why does this 6-year-old have a phone? Weary. Commentator shares his own story. Double Bubble DB. IDK if my story will help your case at all. But my mom tried to do the same with me. I was homeschooled, aka I was at home instead of going to public school. Luckily I got some formal education for 3 years, so I at least knew how to read. My homeschooling was really just getting to sit around and read or play on my phone. She never pushed me to do anything. No math, no science, no history. Nothing I didn't want to do. Eventually my grandparents visited, saw that I was basically a 13-year-old 3rd grader, and CPS was called. I was taken to live with my grandparents, then eventually my dad got to go to high school. But I was bullied horribly for my lack of social skills. I'm in college now, but it took 3 extra years of remedial education to get to basic freshman level. I am in my mid-20s and still can't socialize. Still can't do division. I encounter huge gaps in my knowledge daily. I literally can only read and write so well because all I did for school was read. Oh, and I also do not speak to my mom and called CPS the second I caught wind of her doing the same to my siblings. Update recovered with Reddit October 26, 2023. So after many heated arguments, we agreed that she could finish out this year. If she stays consistent and there is an improvement, I agree he will stay homeschooled, but if I don't, he will go to public school. I am still afraid she may renege on the deal, and she is afraid I may not give her a fair shot and just disagree no matter what when the time comes. But that's where the trust in your partner is really tested. Now this took a lot of conviction and tears and emotions. This was not easy to get to because of how strongly we felt about her homeschooling and the public school system. So I suppose any argument about the welfare of our children is better than petty ones. In the end, I was close to really walking away. But I listened to her feelings and she understood mine. I hope this helps someone in a similar situation. Thanks for all the positive feedback. Edit. So let me explain. I have a calendar of his lessons and times she will be teaching him. Those will be signed off and checked. I will also have him tested at the end. She has until the end of December this year. If she fails, then he will be enrolled come January 2024. Also, the nasty comments that we are failing him. I'm a terrible parent. Spineless. Not needed. I was and am willing to divorce unless I have my son succeed. I'm sure you all meant it as motivation. I'm guessing. I'm here to fight for my son. But also in a marriage. And you don't just throw away your marriage unless there is no other choice. So if she reneges on the deal, she knows the consequences. This is a repost sub IAM, not the OOP. She has clinical OCD and babies him a lot. OOP is clearly in denial. Unless wife gets some significant mental health intervention, this is going to end in divorce, or every worry OOP has will happen to his child. I have to ask this again. Why does a 6-year-old who does not attend school have his own phone? I homeschooled my nephew for 6 weeks during lockdowns. First grade, and I watched his little brother as well. It was absolutely one of the hardest things I ever did. And I had the worksheets and books from the school ready. It was still tough as hell. Now imagine that plus more kids and an entire household to run. That kid is not getting a good education. I just don't get homeschooling. It seems more of an excuse to keep kids from external influences than it does about actually educating them. Not to mention, I have a very hard time believing that most parents are even remotely qualified to properly educate their kids. In Australia, homeschooled kids had to reach certain levels in subjects. There were group outings to go to a park for botany, for instance. Plenty of materials available for the parents to use. This is something that should have been discussed before having kids. But I can see how it would pass under the radar. A good education is one of the greatest tools you can give your kids. I'd divorce a spouse easily if something so important was at stake. Ain't no way I'd let anyone, family or not, jeopardize my kids' education. I have a feeling this isn't over and OP's wife is just stalling for time. Homeschooling. I was homeschooled until the 8th grade. One day, they dropped me off at middle school out of the blue. After years of begging my parents to let me go, I thought it was a mean joke. Honestly, I'm coming to realize that I don't have many memories prior to the 8th grade. Because I didn't have anything solid to gauge time with and had zero structure. My family didn't celebrate birthdays or non-religious holidays. But I remember things like my cousins' birthdays because their parents would go all out for them and would convince my parents to let me come and stay the night. Homeschooling obviously affects kids more than just socially and academically. If the family is as religious as mine was, you don't get to have a true personality at home, because anything that could be perceived as ungodly is a huge problem and you're going to be lectured for hours about why you liking Fall Out Boy means you let Satan in the home. Homeschooling with an overbearing parent means you do not ever actually get to interact with other people unless that parent is with you. You don't get to stand on your own 2 feet and interact independently. You don't build self-esteem. And you're probably unhealthy and meshed with your parents, because that's what they taught you. I remember having a huge problem just ordering food from restaurants in the early years because I felt like I was telling an adult what to do, so I'd shake and stutter just trying to talk. Going to public school saved me in many ways. My teachers were understanding and encouraged me to find things I liked and to actually have friends. I remember my guidance counselor pretty much forcing me to hang out with other kids, and the other kids were pretty awesome. All in all, after I established some shred of identity for myself, academics were fine. I struggled a bit with division and fractions, but loved everything else. I really developed a passion for learning after I realized my teachers weren't out to brainwash me like my family always taught me. Things were great in school, and in turn very bad at home. Obviously, if I tried to bring up the fact that Jesus wasn't responsible for America establishing independence, I was argued to death about it. At some point I accepted that I couldn't talk to my parents about reality. And that's alright. Sorry for the lengthy comment. I encourage everyone homeschooling to put their kids in public school. Your kid probably doesn't feel safe telling you how they feel, and they probably don't have a metric to know what normal feels like. OOP's kid is going to be on our homeschool recovery in a few years. Why does the 6-year-old have a phone? Question mark. Yeah, letting a parent's mental illness dictate the upbringing of the child always works out great. You're totally doing your best, oops. So, is someone gonna call CPS for OOP's kid, or are we all cool with this? The way OOP talks about the dangers of public schools makes me feel icky. It seems like they are being intentionally vague because they know their issues with public schools are not likely to bring any sympathy. All these unqualified homeschool teachers are going to result in uneducated adults with zero social skills, all in the name of, probably, fear of indoctrination at public school. You shouldn't be able to homeschool unless you have the same qualifications as a teacher. I wanted to homeschool my kid at least for the kindergarten years. I am a teacher. My husband is a teacher. But at 4, when I saw how he lacked social skills and was too attached to me, I enrolled him in a nursery school. It may not be good for him, because he is not the person who learns in a classroom environment, but it is better for his social skills. He has made friends, he is learning how to cope with unwanted situations and generally how to overcome challenges. I help him learn at home too. AMD, although he is a lazy and stubborn boy, it is far better for him to learn education from someone whose authority he respects rather than me, who couldn't get him to sit down and focus for more than 20 minutes cause I was too soft. I would suggest some kind of objective test like MAP or PISA. If the kid achieves at the expected level, then fine. If not, explore other schooling options. Homeschooling drives me nuts. So many people think that since they went to school, they're qualified to teach it. Not only do they not have an education degree, but they're trying to teach 12+ years of schooling, something even qualified teachers don't do. Not only that, but they often teach multiple children in different grades simultaneously. I don't understand how they expect kids to get the same level of education as by professionals who are trained specifically in that one grade, subject area and have more resources at their possession. Unless his wife is a qualified teacher, she should not be homeschooling him regardless. But especially not as it is just a symptom of a much wider issue that she has. This child desperately needs to be saved from both its parents. I feel so bad for this kid. Mom is out her mind and dad has no spine. Missing the fluff in a public school education? What in the world are they referring to as the fluff? My husband was unschooled by his dad when he was 10. He asked his dad if he could quit school because he didn't want to go anymore. My Phil is the biggest pushover you will ever meet, and he immediately pulled my husband from school. What followed was 8 years of homeschooling, where all they did was hang out with next to no schooling. It took my husband numerous tries to pass his GED. He had also asked his dad on more than one occasion if he could go back. There was always an excuse as to why he couldn't. My husband almost joined the military to get some structure, but he and I met around that time. I still don't know how my Phil got away with it. Probably because it was the 80s, 90s. Oh, and my Mill was around but too drunk to care. This is not going to end well.
If you enjoyed this video, please check out our playlists full of similar content. Epicaricast is like doom scrolling for your ears. Please like, share, and subscribe.